Hello, this is Ken Lennick from the Doll Artistry team of Holman and Lennick, and I just want to welcome you to another class in an ongoing series of creative sculpting. So sit down and relax and just have a wonderful day. This is one of the funnest, I know it's not a word, but it's a word that works for me. This is one of the most funnest classes that I do, and this is in mask making. Now, mask making is one of the most time-honored of traditions, and the new twist I put on because of polymer clays and because this product is available to us makes it very exciting. This is perfect for a Santa or a wizard or a larger doll, and I'll give you all the variables that you can use and use this particular method. So you're going to have a great time today. This is a fun way to sculpt. It's less frustrating than a lot of other ways, and it makes a wonderful, wonderful product. So we're going to go ahead and turn to the table, if you could, right now. Let's have a look what we're going to need. We're going to need Super Sculpey. So I've got a nice block there. Now remember, with Super Sculpey, you want it, when you pull it out of the box, you want to go ahead and knead it for about a half hour, 30 minutes, just to get it all nice and blended. And that takes care of all those cracks and pops and whistles that you often see in Super Sculpey dolls. And it makes a difference between a good product and a bad product. We're going to need eyes. Now I use Judith Howe eyes again for this particular. We're going to do a little Santa character. Perfect for Christmas. This is just an ideal way to make a Santa, and it's an easy way to make a Santa, and it can be a wonderful heirloom that you can hold for years and years and years and years. Now this is an acrylic eye, and you can use an acrylic eye even though people have problems with the fact that they do melt and there's all kinds of problems, but I'll tell you a secret. Can you get real close? Every acrylic eye has a seam right here. Go ahead and take a sharp object, like a knife, a sharp knife, and pop off this back post so that you have a hollowed out front section only, and use that to make your Santa piece. Gases build up inside of this particular when it's cooking, and sometimes that'll break the eye. So I find if I pop that off the back and just use the front part of the eye, if you have an acrylic eye, and you fire that at 220 and 225 degrees Fahrenheit rather than 240 and 250, that'll keep the eye from melting. But I'm going to go ahead and use the porcelain eyes because that's just the eyes that I use. Secondly, we're going to need a porcelain, I'm sorry, it's not a porcelain, it's a styrofoam ball. We're going to use a styrofoam ball. I'll show you how we use that a little bit later. That'll be the back, that'll be the head, back part of the Santa mask. We're also our tools. You can use wooden tools if you have them. I use dentist tools. I like them better because they're smooth and they get to places you can't get to with other modeling tools. Go down to your dentist, they throw these away after a while, so maybe your dentist, he or she will just give them to you, or you can buy them at doll shows. A smoothing brush. This is a fabric brush, perfect for smoothing out areas when we're sculpting a Super Sculpey. An owl, just a pointed tool. Very good to use around the eyes. It's a nice tool to use. You can also use toothpicks, by the way, instead of this tool. Now we've got a couple of variances. I'm going to show you. This is very simple. You can use a cup. This is just a ceramic cup, and it has a nice flat top. And we're going to actually make the mask on the top of this cup. Now I sprayed this cup with any kind of oil or non-stick coating. You know, just spray it and wipe it off with a napkin, and that'll keep it from sticking to the piece. You can use aluminum foil to make the back part. And all you have to do is just make aluminum foil round like this and about a ½ inch to 3/4 of an inch thick. And that can be also used, or you can even use, in this case, it's just a jar top. Jar top like this would stay in the piece. You see? So what we're going to do is the styrofoam ball, as you can see, will fit inside the back, which will glue in, which I'll show you later in the video. And the mask is on the front of the piece. And then I'll show you how we work that. So in this case, we're going to go ahead and also, let me tell you something, we can also use this too. This is a shoulder plate as you've seen before on the dowel. In this case, we can actually run that right down inside the stick for our finished piece. But again, I'll show you that later on. So we're going to start with this. I'm going to go ahead and use this cup, which is the one I like to use for my Santas. And we start the process very simply by taking a piece of, it's like every other doll that we ever make, take a piece of the Super Sculpey, roll it in your hands and warm it up in your hands and get it smooth. And we're going to make our pizza again. And make it nice and round. And we're going to just force that down over the top of the ceramic cup. If you use this, you'd force it down over the top of that, so at the back is like this. If you use aluminum foil, the same way. And you're going to push that down flat so there's no air. And then you're going to make the sides thick. Can you see how I'm doing that? I'm giving an edge to the piece by just using my hands. Now, because this is going to be a bearded piece, or it could be fabric or anything else. Now, this piece can go on a wall. This piece can be used with furniture. This piece could be used to make a Santa or Father Christmas. So if you look at the piece all the way around, so then you want to take your hand and you want to smooth that all out using that snowballing technique we've talked about in the other videos, which is using your palm of your hand to smooth. Now, you don't need to worry about a neck or a chin because the piece would be haired and bearded. Many of the Santas that you see out there are made in this, out there being in the marketplace, are made in this particular manner, although they might have their own style or their own variable about how they make the piece. Now, as you can see, if I pull that off, I'm not going to pull it off, but I pull it off for you so you wouldn't do this. But now, do you see how the back is indented? Now, the styrofoam would sit inside that. But we're not going to worry about that. We're going to put it back on our piece, but it won't stick because of the oil I sprayed on. So you can use any non-stick spray on your piece. It won't hurt the Super Sculpey at all. Super Sculpey has mineral oil in it. Okay? Now, we're going to go ahead and set our eyes. If you could come close, we use exactly the same technique that we used in making our other dolls in the other videos, and that's we're going to bisect the face. And you can see it's a nice round face. Isn't that fun? And we're going to go ahead and we're going to actually make a cross equal distance across the top. And make it now. In the first tape, we talked extensively about eye placement. In this video, we're just going to go place the eyes equal distance between the side of the head and the midline. See that? And we're going to place, in this case, we're going to place the eye straight in. Nothing fancy in placing the eye. Just straight in. So it's looking direct. So just make sure that all you have to need is to make sure that they're looking directly at you. They're not off to the side. Okay? So then take your finger and then smooth out your lines. Then take your palm and then just smooth out the whole piece. So, good. The next thing we're going to do, taking just like we would do in our normal eyes, we're going to go ahead and put the upper eyelid on. You'll come back to me, I'll show you. We're going to be putting this first eyelid, I'm sorry, you can see it here, right above the eye here. Actually, mine's still covered up, getting old here, I guess. But there's an eyelid, the primary eyelid comes on first, and that's the first thing we're going to be putting on our doll. So we're taking a small piece of clay, making a sausage, come back to the doll. And we're going to make a small sausage like this. And because it's a mask, you can be as exaggerated as you want to be. You can make anything you want. A wizard, an old lady. But this is a perfect way to make a Santa. Now we're going to place that right over the top of the eye. Can you see? Now smooth all the sides in with your fingers. And remember, we use from our first video, we use the thumb and our finger to smooth. And then we can use our palm to smooth out the forehead. Now that makes our forehead for us. Now go ahead and pull down your finger in the center. And push that very close to the eye. And I'm going to show you on the side. So you're going to take your tools and just smooth out that eyelid. This is a relatively simple technique, but you can get as sophisticated as you need to get in making masks. I know some people that make wonderful masks and Mardi Gras dolls using this exact same method, and they're just spectacular dolls. Big dolls, 3 feet, 3.5 feet. And remember, the rule of thumb with Super Sculpey is try to go no more than 1/2 inch to 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch in thickness, and that still applies. But you can make quite a large face. Now this face is almost 3.5 to 4 inches around. By the time we're done, we're going to have a pretty good size head. I've had people in the classes make them as big as 8 inches around and make spectacular dolls. So there we have. You can almost see a personality happening already. Something's coming forward. It's going to be our little Santa. So again, get that tight against the eye. So if you look to the side, see how that looks from the side? We have a forehead there, and then a little lid. And we'll explain that lid in a bit when we put our secondary pieces on. Now at this point, I like to fire the piece. And we'll fire this one because I've used the ceramic eye at around 240 degrees for about 15 minutes. Just enough to give me a hard surface to work on now when I make the rest of the doll. So smooth that out. So go ahead and fire that. Now if you use the acrylic eye, you want to reduce the temperature to around 220 degrees. And a very good idea if you're going to use an acrylic eye is to start with a cool oven, put the piece in the oven, turn the oven on, cook it for 15 minutes, turn the oven off, and let the piece cool in the oven. And as it cools off with the eye in it, then your eye won't crack or melt. I won't guarantee that that won't happen. It still does happen, but it's less likely to happen if you do it that way. Okay, so we'll cut away, and we'll fire that piece. This is kind of a fun thing. Santas to me are the most. We used to do an awful lot of Santas in the early days, and then I also ran a factory that made display Santas for years. And this is the way that we did it. All right, if you'll turn to the doll. Now we're going to go ahead and put on the sinus. And come to my face real quickly, and I'll show you what we're going to be putting on. We're going to be putting on this section of the face where the top of the jaw comes in. So can you see that? That's what we're going to be building. So you can sort of imagine what we'll be looking at. We're building the top jaw and the teeth coming in like that. All right. Let's go back to the piece. I'm going to make a triangle. Now, if this is the first tape you've bought, I suggest that you buy the beginning starting course as well, because we go over a lot of techniques, whether you're doing masks or whether you're doing dolls. Those techniques all apply, and I won't go over all of them in this course, because this is a fairly simple course. Now, you see what I built there? This is the bridge, this is the mouth, and this is going to be the jaw right here. Now, as I put it on the piece, you're going to be able to see that. Can you see it like a little duck? See how that looks? See in the front? Okay, so now you're going to smooth that all in. I'm being told to put it back on the camera so you can see. It doesn't look really good if you can't see. And take a tool, your wood tool or whatever, and just work it tight against the eyes. We're gonna put eyelids underneath. So then just go ahead and smooth all of that in. And don't worry about up here much because we're going to go ahead and put a brow above that. Fold in the bottom. Mask making to me is exciting. I think you can do so much. I made some marionettes once for a collector, and it's just fun. And one of the reasons that mask works so well is that you can make a fairly large face without the weight associated with the larger doll. But the truth of the matter is you can go ahead and once you do the mask, you can go ahead and fill in the back part with super sculpting by putting aluminum foil back here and filling it all in and making a large head. And that'll be very strong and very nice to do all that. You don't have to do that. If you want to make a more permanent doll rather than use the styrofoam, that's a way that you can do it. So blend it in around the eye. We'll be putting lower eyelids in, so don't be too concerned about that. Okay, now we're going to put in teeth, because Santa certainly has teeth when he smiles. And we're going to go ahead and put now I'm going to use the bottom of my brush, because these are going to be large teeth. So I'm going to go ahead and just make my indentions. Now you notice I don't have to brace that up any. Super Sculpey is very resilient. It holds its own shape. Now I've got clear Fimo. This is 01. And I want to make pretty good sized teeth. So I'm going to use teeth about that big. Can you see they're just about the right size? Nice big teeth, because we're going to have some fun with this. This is going to be a fun doll. And I got place, and I put 6 teeth in normally, and that's enough usually to make the doll work. If you're a real fanatic or a dentist or something, you can put as many teeth as you want. I have many of my students that go all out for the teeth, and they put all the little molars in and I have a lovely student that puts fillings, silver fillings in her teeth, which is really cute. When the mouth is open, you can actually see the fillings inside the doll and on the teeth. That's kind of exciting. Okay, the same technique applies that I've used in the other videos. If you haven't seen that technique, I'm going to press, triangulate on the top, and flatten on the bottom. And I'm going to set that right in one of those indented areas. I'm going to press down, triangulate, and flatten the bottom. You just have to practice that. Don't make your teeth too thin. Make them fairly thick. You know, it doesn't really matter. In my classes, I notice that all the students really want to make the teeth thin and skinny. You know, it's a lot more expressive to make them large and thick. I mean, our teeth aren't really thin. But isn't that fun looking? Big old smile. We'll get the lips on that. That'll be exciting. Now, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to put the bottom jaw in. And that's just, what you want to do is just get a small piece of clay, about like that, and you're going to build the bottom jaw. And that's simply, you're going to make a flat back here, the mouth here, and you have to just practice this. This is just going to require practice. So, and when you get done, you're going to have it look like that. Do you see? And I'll show you what we're building. We're actually, if you can imagine a denture, that's what we're going to build. Same thing applies. We're going to put our little indentions here. If you want to get close up of that, you could get closer on that one bottom piece. We're going to build the bottom denture. Do you see the shape of it? Like a denture. Now again, we're going to take 6. Now they're going to be smaller, remember, than the ones on top. Turn it over so you can see that. They're going to be smaller. I'd make them about that size, the second tooth size. And you can make them all about the same size. You may or may not, when we put the lips on, you may cover them up. You know, depending on what you want to do. But the option's there to have a big old smile for a Santa or a character. If you want to put a big nose, you could almost do a little marionette characters, which is what I did. And that's kind of fun. Okay, so we're going to put those teeth in, and we're going to put those teeth in right in the denture. And we're going to flatten the top. As you can see, you don't really need to triangulate like we did on the top ones, because these won't show once the bottom lip is in. But then see, so there's our denture. Do you see that? And there's the underneath part. And we're going to just set that right in. Now you want to make sure that the bottom teeth sit on, you see it's got like an overbite. Sit the bottom teeth behind the top teeth. Now, reason for doing that is that when we get the thing done, it looks a lot more natural than to have them line up. I know that orthodontists out there would love to have everything nice and perfectly lined up, but that's not necessary for a character doll. And then we have our guy with all his teeth. Okay. Now, the next thing we're going to do real quickly. Now, many artists do all this in one shot, and I think it's difficult to do that. I like to always work against a hard surface, so I always fire my pieces in process, where a lot of artists do not do that, and I think that it's much easier. Now, we're going to make a sausage, and we're going to make a piece about, you can see the proportion to the size. We're going to go ahead and we're going to make a brow. You're going to take that sausage and you're going to flatten the sausage. And you're going to put that right over the top. You see that? And that's going to be our brow to our Santa. And we're going to bring that right down. Okay, and you're going to fold that in, blend that in, just pulling that down tight. And then you can just take it and pull it right down across the bridge. Don't worry about shaping it yet. Let's just get everything all smoothed in first. Okay, just smooth that all in. Now you can take your hand and just work it like a snowball across the top, smoothing that all in across the top. And you can shape it a little bit. You don't have to be. And again, this is just experimentation. So now that I've done all the handwork, now if you notice it's super sculpty, you can do a lot more with your hands than you can with your tools. Other Polymer clays require an awful lot of work with the tool rather than the hand, but Super Sculpey could be a lot of fun just for doing. Now you can just take that brow and just bring it down, and make any shape on the brow. You can make the brows a little angry or whatever, but now that's going to have hair on it, so that can just be just about like that. You can bring it up a little bit if you want to just change the expression just by lifting it. See, if we lift it up real high, it makes the expression a little more open. If you want to make him angry, you can pull the brow down. See, ooh, isn't that terrible? And you can just pull it up, then a little flatter down to the side. So move that around, have fun with that, to change the expression, because that's part of the expression of the piece at that point. Now, since it's going to be a Santa, probably ought to have some wrinkles. So I would go ahead at this point, and I would go ahead and just put some wrinkles in right above the brow, and bring it right across. You know, have fun with this. Put a lot in. I know people that just they do a lot of wrinkles, not just small ones. But see there, look at that. That's going to be fun. I can see it's going to be fun already. See that? The wrinkles in it. Smooth out this side. Okay. Now you're going to fire that for about 20 minutes. And then we come back. We'll put the cheeks on and the lips. Okay, we got that back out, and our piece is good. Now let these pieces cool. Don't get yourself burnt in a hurry. Just take your time. You can always have a sandwich or some cookies and milk in between. I like to take my time making the pieces. Okay, so if you go to the doll now. Now let's go ahead and just give it a light sand to get any of the little rust spots off. Don't worry about the white. That's typical of the material. Also, you want to sand the teeth down because you no doubt have your fingerprints in them. Just give everything a nice little sand, and that'll also make the next pieces adhere better. Oh, don't worry about the white. We'll handle that later, and I'll show you how we do that. Now, in this video, we're not doing hands. I go over hands exclusively in the first video, the beginning course, and here's a couple of hands that would be actually pretty nice for this piece, and I'll show you those. And the best thing, which come back to me, is this is the beginning course, and we go over extensively hands and doll making techniques for dolls. So this is you want to get this course if you want to do hands or learn a little bit more about regular doll making and doll sculpting, other than the masks. All right, so we have our piece. Now, he looks kind of gruesome right now, doesn't he? You notice that the technique is a little forensic in the sense that we build. Now, also, this is a good time too, if you have it on a piece of ceramic, to pop it off. Now you can actually see if we take the styrofoam ball, look, we just cut that flat in the back, and then I'll show you that we actually have hair. Here's some hair, and you can begin to see how that, a little gruesome right now, but you'll see in a little bit how that'll all work and come together. All right, so we have our piece, and we need lips. So we're going to go ahead and take two small pieces. They don't have to be very big, just lips, the size to go across and cover the teeth. So the first one we're going to put on is the bottom lip. And there's a reason for that, is if you look at your own mouth, you can't see mine, I'd show you mine because it's covered with facial hair, but your upper lip actually is longer than your bottom lip. That's the way the muscles work. So give me a close-up on that, we're going to go ahead and bring up here, come to the doll. Yeah, good. And all I'm going to do is I made a sausage. Let me show you that again so you can see that. Just pick a round piece and we're going to roll it out. And what I'm going to do is squish one side, and I'm going to let the other side stay thick. Can you see how that side is thick and this side is thin? The thick part will be our lip. So I'm going to just put that right down along the teeth. And I'm going to smooth that all in. Now, I never showed you this before. This fabric brush is a very good brush for just getting out the little pieces that are flaky, and if it's not working very well with your hands for some reason. But you can do quite a bit of smoothing just with that. Okay. Don't worry about the fact he hasn't got a chin yet, because he really won't need one because we're going to beard him up. So I want to bring that lip up a little bit, so just to where my teeth are just showing. Okay, now we're going to do another one, another piece. Like that. And now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to roll out a sausage. And again, I'm going to flatten out the back side and leave the top thick. And I'm going to put that across the top. And I'm going to overlap the bottom lip. Okay? Now just smooth that all in. See how it's overlapped here? Okay. Take a tool, I'm going to just work all that all right in now. I can use either use a tool or I can use my hand. Flatten that all down now. Now, it looks like a duck right now, but don't worry about it because we're going to go ahead and put really big cheeks and a nice big round Santa nose. Okay. Now, and that's it. Now we're going to shape the lips, so you don't need to do anything just yet. So, all right, now, everybody got that? Also, if you're doing more than one person watching the video, remember that your oven may have to be turned up a little bit when there's more than one piece in there. And also, the piece toward the center of the oven will cook faster than the pieces on the sides. So, be very sure that when you do cook it in a group that you do, make sure everybody gets it done. Looks pretty ugly at this point, doesn't it? Okay, but trust me, it'll be fine. All right, now we're going to put the cheeks in, and we're going to put some really big cheeks. Really big. So we're going to get two pretty good sized pieces. And you want them to be the same size. So we're going to do one side and then the other. And we want them to be the same size. And what I mean by size is volume, so they're the same amount of clay. And what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and kind of make that into an elongated kind of a comma with a flat back. We want the cheek to stay fat. See, so I make a comma, see? And it's rounded in the front, big round in the front, right? And you want to pull it up along the side, and I'll show you why that. So there's the shape I want. See, it's kind of a funny little shape, but you'll see why in a minute. This is where the eye is going to be, and we're going to come up. And we want that cheek to stay real fat. So you see the shape? So spend some time getting that shape. That's real important. If you want to turn off the video now or just put it on as pause, you can, but we're going to go ahead. But that is the shape you want. And you want the other side in a reversed shape, but still with the nice big fat cheeks. Now, if you can't get what I'm doing, you can always add later. Say if you put it on, it doesn't quite come out the same way. You can add later. These are just speedy techniques to get to a result. So I got two sides. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put them on. I'm going to extend it out here. I'm going to do, okay, you see how I put those on there? So under the eye, look, see? Big cheeks. And there's that shape. And I'm going to pull that off so you can see it. There's that shape, see? I'm actually building, come up to me for a minute, I'll show you. I'm building this whole structure right here, if you can visualize this whole structure. Okay? So, we're going to go ahead and just smooth all of that in, pressing down so it's, below the eye. And, the more exaggerated that cheek is, that's the funnier the Santa will be. So you don't need to, worry about it being too small. If you want to make it more elongated face for a wizard, that's fine too. but I want to make a little comical character. I think that's, you know, more typical Santa. Okay, I'm going to take my tool and I'm going to work it around in the eye. And again, if you notice, the technique is to work against a hard, already cooked surface, rather than trying to do it all at once. And I want to balance out my, I haven't got the nose on yet, but I want to just balance out the cheeks so that on both sides. Now again, if you have a mirror, you can put the mirror, now I have the thing in front of, you know, I'm using the monitor, the TV for that purpose, but if you have a mirror, put it in the mirror so you can see how balanced the piece is. So I'm going to go ahead and just rub all of that together into my lips and blend that all in, smoothing it out. And just tie that all into the lip area there. And don't worry about the shape of the lips yet. We haven't done that yet. So, okay, now just smooth everything in. And spend a lot of attention on the cheeks, making sure that the cheeks are very glossy, because above the, when we're through, and the cheeks are above the beard line, they're going to be real glossy. So now this is where you can use that brush. Go ahead and smooth everything in. And the brush will help you to, I want to make sure you can see that. What I'm doing is I'm working that brush around the eye into those rough areas. Okay, so why don't we just, you go ahead and work on smoothing that piece out. Okay, take your time and smooth the doll out really well. Come on back to my hands. You want to make sure that those cheeks are nice and fat and round. You can use your palms to just to flatten them out a little bit so that they're real. See how, so they come out kind of puffy and round. We're going to go ahead and let's get it back on here. I'm being told I'm off the table again. Just smooth everything in. Now we're going to do more here. We're going to put our nose and everything in. But let's go ahead and work the mouth a little bit while we can. And I tell you what we're going to do with the mouth. Just make sure everything is blended on the corners real well. Now, this is a technique you have to just sort of watch. Take the bottom lip with your thumb and just roll it out and sort of pinch. Do you see how I did that? Just roll it out. This just takes some practice. Just roll it out. Okay, on the upper lip, take it and pinch one side and lift and pinch the other. And then we're going to take a little tool and all you're going to do is just sort of, now we talked about, no one's written me yet as to what that's called right there, that little indentation area, but we all have it, and I don't know what it is, so if somebody would write to me and let me know what that is, I appreciate it. And there you are. And there's a really nice little lip. Okay, I'll get myself back on the screen. So just smooth out around the lip areas. Make sure that your cheeks are good. And now, what we're going to do now is you're going to just take your thumb and just lift up a little bit. Now, if you flattened out your cheek, don't worry about that. We'll add some more when we come back. But at this point, make sure that your mouth is good. Make sure that your cheeks are nice and glossy and nice, and that everything is nice and smooth. Okay, there we have it. Now we're going to go ahead and we'll cook that. I tell you, let's do this. This is kind of nice too. Take a little tool. You can use a knife and go ahead and just line out your lips, because we all have lines in our lips. Do a close-up on that so you can see that. And all I did, do you see the little, back a little bit, I put little lines in the teeth. There you go, you can see them perfectly there. Oh, isn't that fun? Starting to look like something now, huh? Make sure that your cheeks, now I notice now that I look at the monitor, my cheeks are not really round. I want to make sure that they're very, very smooth and round, because that's what makes it very exciting when you get done. All right? Let's see if I got that right. Okay, a little flaw right there. I couldn't see that. Okay. Very good. Now, one more thing too. On the side here, along the eye, put those little squinkly marks. And on the other side, see? Little happy lines across the side of the face. I think that looks nice. Okay, we'll come back and we'll put the nose on, and some work around the eyes yet, and some ears, and we'll have it. Okay, now it'd be a good idea at this point, with Super Sculpey, it's always real important, I think, to sand the piece down. You ready to see what the mask looks like at this point? Okay, we're going to come down a close-up here. You want to make sure that when you pull it out of the oven and it's cool, don't try to sand it when it's warm. That doesn't really work. There we go. Just give it a light sand, smooth out the cheeks. Okay. You've got to tolerate the dust here. Maybe if you are sensitive to sand, I think it'd be a good idea to wear a particle mask while you're sanding these. I'm not sensitive to the dust, but I've understood that some people are, and we do provide them in our classes. All right. So there's our little guy. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to put on his nose. And he's Santa, so he should have a nice nose. So he should have a bulb nose. So we're going to go ahead and make a little round nose, and I'm going to go ahead and just pinch it up a little bit like this, and here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make just a little ridge, see? I'm going to actually make the nose. Do you see that? I'm going to make the nose itself. Okay? I'm going to put that right on him. Too big? Too big. A little bit less. Should be a cute little pug nose, according to the... Now, you could make this any nose you'd like. If you'd like to make it a sort of a Roman nose for a wizard, that's fine. Just go ahead and just make the nose separately. So now we're going to go ahead and take our tool, and we're going to smooth that right in, and we're going to blend that in. On all the sides around the eye. Okay, and bring it right down here. Pull it up a little bit. Now don't worry about the nostrils. I'm going to show you a trick with the nostrils. Okay, you take your fingers and smooth that all in. We're going to add some more clay here yet, so don't worry if it seems flat to you. We're going to do a little bit more work to do yet. Smooth that all back in against the lip. Okay, I'm told to get back on the screen so you can see what I'm doing. All right. Pull it down. All right. Now, I had that big brush I had earlier, or you could use round tool like the end of my little thing here. And what you're going to do is you just put that right in there and pull it right off to the side. Put it in and push it off. And then that gives us our little nostril, and you just pinch it off the top. And then there's our little pug nose. We can make that a little bit more round. Now you can use the end of a pencil, you could use any little tool that you have to just pull off that little bit of, so you can see how the nostrils are all set up already. And if you want to, just go ahead and define on the back of the nose, you know, a little, see? By just pinching it off. Now I can go ahead and pull out a little bit more once I get inside. I just pull it out a little more. I can look down the edge and see if my nose is straight on both sides. Okay, so there he is. All right, I think we should probably go ahead. And again, I always opt to bake the piece if I feel like I'm going to lose something that I've already done and I really like, if I'm afraid of losing it. Now we can put eyebrows in, and we're going to do that, and we're going to do some more work around the eyes. But we're getting real close, and we'll look at this in a little bit. So we're going to go ahead and fire that for about 15 minutes to so it gets plenty hard, and then we're going to go ahead and we're going to do some more work around the eyes and the cheek. Well, there he is with his nose. So we're going to go ahead and do something kind of fun. I want to show you. This is nice. We're going to go ahead and we're going to put a couple layers of underneath the eyes. And I'll show you what we're going to do here. This is kind of a cute trick to do. We're going to just take a little piece, and you're going to run it out like a moon shape, and very flat. And you're going to put it right underneath the eye and right on out. See? Right up and then real tight and right on out. I'm going to do the same on the other side. And then right on out. Okay? And then we're just going to go ahead and fold all of that in. And then we'll go ahead and put all our little Santa crinkle lines and everything once we get that all folded in. Now we already put some on the side, but if you cover up those lines, that's okay. Just get that all. Now that little cloth brush that we had out earlier is a very good tool right now. And I'll show you. See the little feathering there? Now I can take that brush and work that clay so that it's all smooth and all blended in. See, particularly up around the nose, just go ahead and pull that right tight up against the nose there. Now this brush could be a little bit stiffer. That's not bad. Now let's go ahead and just make sure that you've got a lot of your eyes showing, and work that tight up against the eye. So that it's all in there nice and tight. See there it is. See the little twinkle there in his eye? So just work it all in there nice and tight, and then we're going to go ahead and we can put our little lines in. Now you can use really large eyes for this if you want a really large-eyed Santa. Or you can use the little smaller eyes like I do. I don't mind either one. I just happen to have, these are 18s. Oh, 16s I think they are, I'm not sure. And I like them. It's a nice size eye. Okay, now, once we've got that established, can you see now? Kind of all, pretty human-like, isn't it? Okay, now we're going to go ahead and we're going to put the ears on. And the ears, just get two, you know, I don't like to do big ears. I like the ears to be fairly nondescript. I know a lot of otters who use masks in their Santas don't even put the ears on because the hair covers, but it's still nice. So make them fairly small. And the trick is you pinch one side and pull down. Now I've made this a very comical Santa, but you can make it as serious and as you wanted to. You can make them very stern looking or whatever. Okay, I'm going to put the ear on the side. I want you to notice how thick the ear is. I don't make it hollow in the back. I want to make sure that it's good and thick so it doesn't break off. And all I'm going to do is just fold that in. Don't worry if you cover up some of your other work. We can always put it back in. Fold in the back. See how thick the ear is? The purpose for that is that it won't break off in shipping, if that's what you know. I put on the other side. We want to make sure that they're balanced on either side, and that they seem to be. And again, lost the ear on the side. Okay, let's make sure that's on there. Going to fold that in. Fold it in here, fold it in across the top, and then we're going to fold it across the back again, and it's full thickness. So, I know a lot of my students insist on making an ear thin like a human ear. Well, it's you know, commendable for it to be accurate, but it will break, and that's not what you want to have happen. So with the hair and beard on, you know, that's fine, just like that. All right, now, so now we got a little guy with his ears. Isn't that great? Okay. All right, so now we're gonna, let's not do any detail on the ear. We got a couple more things I want to show you. We're gonna go ahead and put a couple of little, come up to my face if you would, just for a second. You really can't see because I've got facial hair, but I want to put a couple little, well, actually you can see it. See the little mark right in here where I crease? I want to put that crease in the piece. So let's come back to the piece. And I'm going to put just a couple of little lines coming off the top of the nose and then down. And what that's going to, I want you to see that. And what that's going to do for us is that's going to give us some place to put the beard defined. And also, it'll give us a nice look to the piece in terms for realism. Now, I know this is cartoonish, but what makes cartoons, I think, work sometimes is the fact that they mimic something about us that is real. And I find that this little detail on a piece gives it just enough, I guess the word would be surreal. A surreal appearance, and as such makes it kind of fun. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to fold that all in. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and fold that in and flatten that out. So you cut away and you do that, and then when we get that, when we get finished, we'll come back and take a look at what we have. All right. I hope you got it smooth. Let's go ahead and have a look at yours and then take a look at mine. Now, all I've really done is just added some sort of, you can see what I've done there, and I'm taking my brush to just detail it out. Now, you know, one of the things about this is a Santa. Now, as smooth as you can make this as smooth as you want to make it, but the truth is that it's a traditional piece, you know, so it doesn't require a great deal of smooth detail from you. If it's a little rough, that's fine. I think because it's a more traditional look with the mask, that there's a quality. If it is a little bit rough, and see, I think I'm making mine very, very smooth, but if yours comes out a little rougher than this, you know, I don't think I'd worry too much about it. I think that that's part of the tradition, the folk art sort of look. And a mask is a very old concept, especially for doll making, when you put this on the face of a block of wood, or, you know, in some other way using it for that purpose. So there's our little guy. Now let's put some details in. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to just make an eye and an ear. Now watch this motion. This is all I do. I don't spend a lot of time on ears. I'm going to put one motion there. I'm going to come right around here and like that. And that's all I'm going to do. One of the things that the porcelain artists have gotten us used to is that we don't have to have a lot of details along the ears as long as there's some indication. Now you can make the ear on your doll as real as you'd like to make it. Now I'm going to go ahead and put some lines under the eye and some lines on the cheek. See there? Under the eye and down. Just some little squinkly lines like Santa's laughing. Come across the side there. And you know, and there's my little guy. And let me see. Have I got myself on there again? There we go. So now you can see he's, you know, it's a little rough. A little rough is okay. We can smooth that out with some sanding. And if you want to make, one thing I would do though is make the cheek real smooth, just on that front surface there. And I'll use my palm to do that. Reason for that is that usually gets glossed up with whatever you use as a finish, and it's nice for underneath the beard. Okay, let's see what we got. Now, there we go. Cute. Now what I'm going to do, now you can put more chin on if you want. I'm not going to do that. I think that's probably good enough. Now, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to fire that. And then we come back, we're going to finish this piece and put a little color in his cheek and wig him up and so you can see what he's going to look like. I hope you're having fun. I am. I just love to do masks. I think it's one of the most exciting types of projects you can do. A little point, if you, something about your cookings too. Don't cook too long. If you cook your material too long, it really darkens Super Sculpey. And also, if you cook it too hot, it'll burn it, and that's a nasty thing. It's a nasty smell, and it'll smoke up your house. Now also, too, we didn't have this problem on this piece, but a lot of times around the eye, you'll get cracks, or around the mouth, you'll get cracks. And if that happens in the batch that you have, and it's a batch problem, not necessarily, sometimes the clay is wonderful, and sometimes it cracks, sometimes it doesn't cook all the way through. But again, let's go back to the beginning. You want to knead and work your clay when you take it out of the box for about a half an hour. The more you mix it, the better it's going to be as far as cracking. But if it does crack along the eye, put a little super glue in there, sand it down, put a little clay over the top of it, and it'll be perfect. Anytime there's any cracking, just use a little super glue, sort of push it together, hold it together, put a little clay on it, and sand it, it'll be fabulous. Let's go back to our piece here. We're almost ready to fix him up. Now he's kind of exciting. Now what we're going to do is I've sanded now, and I want you to do the same thing. You sand all the rough spots off, right, and just work it until you're pleased with it. There's no rule of thumb about how to do that. Just go ahead and make it until you're happy with it. Now what we're going to do now is I'm going to use, this is a mixture of mineral oil, anise oil, and lavender oil. And it's a very old porcelain finish. And it's something I discovered, and I think it's just fabulous. A friend of mine told me about this. And this is a nice finish pre-color. and I'm going to show you what happens when we do this. It'll take all of the little sanding marks off. It'll finish the piece up. I'm just going to go ahead and just rub it all. Take your brush and you're going to just paint it right in there. Paint it right in the eye, right around the nose. And then the painting itself can be very, very simple, and I'll show you what we're going to do in that. We're going to use makeup. I know you're telling yourself makeup, but it does a nice job. All right, let's have a look here. Let me plug this back up again. So we can see that our piece is just, it takes all of the white out, and it's just a beautiful way to finish the doll. So we'll just take a cloth and wipe off the excess. Now that'll dry into a nice finish. So all you saw there was towel while I was doing that, right? Okay, now what we're going to do with the piece is put a little bit of color on the cheek. Let's go ahead and wipe that off. Just a little red. And I'm just using a blush, and that'll blend right in with that oil. And I'm just using a makeup. So you can use anything, and just use an oil-based makeup. Put a little bit on the red nose so he's cheery, has a little red nose. A little bit above there, but I think that's just as nice as it can be. Now there he is. So now we're going to let that, and we're going to work that a little bit, and I'll put a little bit of color over his eyes. Just a little bit. Maybe just a little bit of green. Oh, that's a little much. But not bad. Now I'll just take that and wipe that out. Just wipe out the excess, just so there's a little hint of color. Now you could either paint on the eyebrows with a little bit of white paint, or, oh, isn't that nice? Want to do a close-up on that one? Look at our little Santa. Isn't he great? Now I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take it and I'm going to just put a little bit of hair and beard on him to let you see what it looks like when he's completely finished. All right, so now we've got our piece colored. I would let the mineral oil dry about 4 or 5 hours, and then you can use Krylon's matte finish. This is the nicest finish. I don't use anything else. It's just a very fine finish for painting. It's perfect. So put a little bit of that on. Now, if you remember, we had a little styrofoam ball, and what I've done now, you can see it's almost like a little mushroom. The reason for that is that sits perfectly inside the back now of my mask. If you wanted to, you could put aluminum foil and finish the back of this piece and put a neck on it if you wanted to make it a larger doll. But in this case, for decorative Santa, some styrofoam in the back. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to glue that in just real quickly, just to show you. Glue around the outside edge here. Be very careful with the hot glue. This is very, very warm. All right, now let that get on there. So now that's on, and then we talked earlier, we had a little shoulder plate that we made and a stick. Now you could either put this on with the body, or you could just stick the stick inside the styrofoam, gluing it in, and that'll be your head and shoulders for the body. You just run this right down inside the cloth body, glue the shoulder plate on, glue this on, run this up inside the head, and that'll be fine for your Santa. So let's go ahead and glue up real quickly our piece. And all I'm going to do is just show you what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and tack a little glue. You want to just bring down the camera down on the piece. I'm just going to do a little tack, but you just go ahead and you can put your bearding on like that. I have another little piece of mohair. We can go ahead and just tack that on just for appearance sake. This is not for you. You can make this do much better than I do on it, but you can at least see the piece when it's done. If I like, I could clip a little bit of this mohair on the end and tack that on. For a beard. And there's our little Santa, Father Christmas. Now you could have his nose be sharp and pointed. You could have him be any way you want him to be, but I hope the technique works fine for you. I think he's a great looking little guy. And it's been just a terrific day for me. So it's been nice. I've had a good time. I always enjoy making masks. And it's just been a terrific day, and I hope you've had a good day. And I just want to remind you that we have our beginning course tape for dolls, and it has a lot more techniques and a lot more ideas in it in the first tape than this one did. And if you've enjoyed this tape, which I hope you have, then I think this is another good tape for you to buy. We have a lot more coming in this series. We have another course on body making and some more adult hints, and also an advanced course. I think this has just been a real privilege for me, and I thank you very much for the opportunity to be able to do this for you.